My brother Dale, the golden boy adored by high society, doesn't know I've been reborn. Just like last time, he's grandly letting me choose a fiancé first to boost his generous image. But this time I refused. In my past life, I trusted him. I followed his advice and picked Serafina Rowe, the paralyzed, disowned heiress. I sold everything to find her doctors and rebuild her empire, but it earned no loyalty. At my birthday party, when an enemy charged Dale with a knife, Serafina, who'd been paralyzed, leaped up and shoved me into the blade. It stabbed me 73 times. She and Dale held each other, watching. No one intervened. Only as I died did guards shoot the killer. I learned the truth. She was never paralyzed or disowned. She was just angry Dale chose another. Sorry, Julian, she whispered. I lied, but I couldn't let Dale die. I'll repay you next life. I opened my eyes, back to the day our father told us to choose our brides. Let my younger brother choose first, Dale said. A flicker of unease in his eyes. He's younger. He needs an exceptional wife more than I do. Just like last time, he was playing the part of the magnanimous older brother, but the way his eyes were practically glued to Alicia Perkins gave him away. Everyone knew they'd been seeing each other for ages. And everyone knew that today, our father would officially betroth her to him. In my previous life, I was clueless. I thought of our shared childhood, of the bond we were supposed to have, and I dutifully chose Serafina. I thought I was doing something noble, sacrificing for my brother's happiness. I had no idea I was choosing to walk into hell. Before I died, I was stabbed 73 times, my heart shredded to pieces. The medical team Serafina had on standby swarmed around Dale, who had a mere 1 centimeter scratch on his hand. He feigned agony, curling into her arms. Serafina, it hurts so much. You have to save your brother-in-law. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have fought him. For you. People around them sighed, murmuring about how kind the elder Shearer's son was, thinking of his brother even at a time like this. They let me bleed out. Only when my blood ran dry did he finally begin to wail, screaming at the bodyguards, "Save my brother, please, you have to save him." I watched the tears stream down his face and wanted to laugh. He was always like this, using that benevolent mask to steal our father's love, to trick me into a disastrous marriage, to leave me destitute and alone. A cold smirk touched my lips. Since my older brother is being so considerate, I won't be polite. I choose Alicia Perkins. Dale stared at me in disbelief. Julian, you know that Alicia and I. Serafina's gaze shot to me, a flicker of shock in her eyes. My father, enraged, slapped me across the face. Who the hell do you think you are? Alicia is an heiress, a princess of high society. You think she'd ever look at a bastard like you? You know she loves your brother. What kind of game are you playing? I swallowed the pain and laughed. If it's all been decided, why not just marry me off to the cripple, Serafina? Are you afraid people will say you're playing favorites? A shadow crossed Dale's face, and his eyes instantly reddened. Julian, how can you say that? Father has always loved you. As we argued, Serafina, who had been sitting silently in her wheelchair, suddenly stood up. Mr. Shearer, she said, her voice clear and steady, let's make a deal. I know the Shearer Corporation's finances are on the verge of collapse. I will invest $1 billion. In return, your eldest son marries me. I never imagined she would expose her act now, after faking it for so long. I stared at her, my eyes burning, until her cold gaze met mine and softened for a fraction of a second, filled with something complex and apologetic. I laughed out loud. So, she was reborn, too. Even after watching me die, given a second chance, she still couldn't stand the thought of Dale marrying someone else. She was even willing to play her ultimate trump card, revealing that she wasn't paralyzed and was still the heiress to the Rowe fortune. Yet, in our last life, she had watched me sell everything I owned to pay for her treatment. I even sold one of my own organs for cash, and she never said a single word. At the mention of $1 billion, a flash of ecstatic greed lit up our father's face. The whole point of these marriages was to save the company, and the Rowe family's power far surpassed the Perkins. He snorted. Since Miss Rowe is so devoted to Dale, then Julian, you will marry Alicia. Alicia's face went white with rage, clearly furious at this sudden turn of events. Her eyes were venomous. Julian Shearer, you should take a good look in the mirror. You're not worth a single hair on Dale's head. You want me to marry you? In your dreams. My father's expression soured. Alicia, what is the meaning of this? The Perkins and Shearer families have been ally-es for generations. Is my son not good enough for you? Are you breaking the engagement? Alicia's beautiful eyes mocked me. With all due respect, uncle, I will marry Dale or I will marry no one. I'd rather die than marry Julian Shearer. Dale's eyes welled up with emotion as he pulled her into a protective embrace. Alicia, Julian saved your life, and it left him with chronic health problems. Even if you don't like him, can't you at least pity him? I'd almost forgotten. When we were 10, Alicia and I were the childhood sweethearts. She'd fallen into a lake while playing and screamed for me to save her. I dove in without a second thought, using all my strength to push her to shore. The ordeal damaged my own health, leaving me frail and sickly ever since. Alicia gazed at Dale adoringly. Dale, don't always be so selfless. If you hadn't called for the doctors, I wouldn't have been saved. You are my true savior. She shot me a disgusted look. If you hadn't used that to guilt me into staying by your side, I would have married Dale years ago. Dale couldn't hide the smug satisfaction on his face. I could barely stop myself from rolling my eyes. My voice was ice. Since my brother is so deeply in love with both of them, why not just marry them both? Dale flushed with anger. Julian, what are you talking about? If they're both with me, who would want you? I slowly stood up. And what if I told you I don't want either of them? Two sets of eyes locked onto me. Alicia's was filled with disdain, as if to say, as if you have a choice. Serafina's gaze was dark and intense, trying to see into my soul. I avoided her stare. Nonsense, my father roared, smashing a glass on the floor. If a useless waste of space like you doesn't marry into a powerful family, what are you going to do? Stay here and be a freeloader? I met his gaze, my voice firm firm and unwavering. I know the overseas division is failing. I'll go abroad. I'll turn it around and save this company. In my last life, when the family business was in trouble, my father used my inheritance from my mother to plug the holes, but it was no use. Before the Shearer Corporation went bankrupt, he transferred all the remaining assets to Dale. It was a fortune so vast Dale would never have to work a day in his life. Meanwhile, I lived in a drafty apartment, working myself to the bone to save money for Serafina's medical bills. At my lowest point, I knelt before Dale and begged him for $30,000. He had security drag me out and break my leg. The doctors had said Serafina's surgery was only $30,000 short, and any further delay would leave her permanently disabled. Desperate, I went to the black market and sold an organ to get her the money. It was all for nothing. Enough, no more thinking about it. I laughed derisively, deleted Serafina's contact information, and boarded a flight to the United States. The team at the new branch didn't think much of me, seeing me as ing more than Dale's less impressive younger brother. I didn't care. My work would speak for itself. In my past life, my world had revolved around Serafina. Now, throwing myself into my work, I discovered a talent for negotiation that even our partners praised. After closing a dead-end deal that had been stalled for 3 years, I was summoned by the CEO. My success was explosive. I became known as a business prodigy, a genius investor. My reputation soon eclipsed my brother's. My father, who seemed to have forgotten I existed, finally called. I answered, only to be met with a barrage of accusations. Julian Shearer, has success gone to your head? It's almost the anniversary of your mother's death, and you can't even be bothered to come home. The thought of my mother was still a raw, tender place in my heart. I arranged my work and flew home. After visiting her grave, I was stopped on my way out. Dale was there, a phony smile on his face, but his eyes burned with an envy he couldn't hide. Little brother, you must be exhausted. His gaze swept over to Serafina, who was standing beside me, and he smirked. I know you've been working so hard to impress Serafina. So, father asked me to tell you, he's already found a fiancée for you. It's the comatose daughter from the Zhao family. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to come to the office anymore. I'll be taking over as president. We can't have a provincial hick like you embarrassing the family name. I sneered. What's the matter? Is it so painful that the little brother you've suppressed your whole life is better than you? He took a step back, his eyes wide with shock. My voice was cold, almost cathartic. I bled to save this company. What gives you the right to take over? Your mother's status as a homewrecker? Or the fact that father had to donate a building just to get you into that third-rate college? A bastard, pointing fingers, telling me to step aside? Who gave you that confidence? Dale's face contorted, his voice trembling. Julian, I'm just trying to do what's best for you. How can you misunderstand me like this? For my own good? We'll see, I said with a sarcastic laugh. A word of advice, golden boy. Father has given you more than enough. Stop lusting after my mother's inheritance. He stammered, I know you've never liked me, but I just don't want to see you work yourself to death. I had no patience for his act. I turned to leave, but Serafina grabbed my arm. Her eyes were deep and complex. You went too far. I looked at her, at the way she was instinctively protecting him, and found it hilarious. Serafina's eyes grew colder. Apologized to Dale. I slapped her across the face. The sharp crack echoed in the quiet space. My brother's devoted fiancé, I said, my voice dripping with ice. Are you done with your little drama? If you want to argue, take it outside. Don't disgust me. Her head was turned from the force of the blow, her hair in disarray. She looked at me in utter disbelief. You. Her voice was a raw whisper, as if she'd never imagined I would ever raise a hand to her. I coldly pushed her away, went back to my room, and packed my bags. But before I could board my flight, I was stopped again. Alicia Perkins had me by the throat, her teeth gritted. This is all your fault. Dale tried to kill himself last night. He's in the hospital, hemorrhaging. You're coming with me to save him. Fortunately, the bodyguards I'd hired quickly pinned her to the ground. I looked at her like she was insane. He jumped? Then call a doctor. What good am I? Did I push him? Alicia's face was a mask of hatred. If you hadn't insulted him yesterday, called him the son of a mistress, he never would have jumped. You know how much his pride means to him. You just wanted him to die, didn't you? I'm telling you, if anything happens to Dale, you'll pay with your life. A sarcastic smile played on my lips. You and what army? My 10 bodyguards? Serafina's voice was like ice as she walked in, followed by her own security team. What about my army? Alicia sneered. Stop wasting time with him. Dale is bleeding out. Tie him up and get him to the hospital for a transfusion. You ruined his peace of mind. Now it's time for you to atone. My bodyguards were quickly overwhelmed. Alicia yanked me to the ground by my collar. The side of my face scraped against the floor, raw and bleeding, the pain stinging my eyes. But I only stared at Serafina. Serafina, I'm only going to ask you this one last time. Can't you see he's just putting on a show to get sympathy? Serafina closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, the last trace of hesitation was gone. I know. It was laughable. They both knew it was a game, but they were still willing to play along, to throw me into the abyss once more.